Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the channel for today's video. I wanted to talk to you today about the spirit of the narcissist and its low vibration. So let's jump in. So what you will find when you get to know a narcissist, or if you've had one in your family, cluster B, for instance, you're going to find early in childhood have devalued and put to death their higher self. These individuals have put to death their true self for the false mask, or the false self, which we also call the fantasy, which they draw you into when you meet the narcissist. Because for you to have a relationship with the narcissist, you have to accept the fantasy, and the fantasy is the mask. You see, the narcissist is only loyal to the mask. They're only intimate and vulnerable to the mask, because the mask is what it has pledged allegiance to early in life when it put to death the true self. And this is what made them the way that they are. But these are choices that they made. They had to put to death their true self. And when you put to death your true self, you can't come back from that. But when you are a narcissist, you don't have, what you'll find, you don't have the 9 fruits of the spirit, which are love, joy, peace, goodness, gentleness, goodwill towards individuals, and having a good self-control. All these things are related to your true self. The narcissist has none of them. So they disconnected from their higher self, their spirit man. So you have your spirit man, and then you have your soul, which is your mind, will, and emotions. And then outside of that is your flesh. And it's gotten to a place to where if you ever need to do something right, and you're going to hear it or you're going to feel it from inside, it's going to come from your spirit man, your higher self. Now, your mind, will, and emotions may reject it, but you're still getting that counsel given to you. So when your spirit man is strong, they will say in the Bible or in the church, because when you read the word and you get saved, the Holy Spirit saves the spirit man, which then controls and saves the soul. But if you don't have a spirit man, the spirit man is what puts everything into order by God, when you put God in power, because it controls the mind, will, and emotions and this flesh, the meat suit. But what they have is the mind, will, and emotions and the flesh, but they don't have the spirit man anymore. And the spirit man is where, like we're talking, all of the good fruits of the spirit are going to come from your spirit man, your higher self. See, they don't have the spirit man anymore. Also, your intuition comes from the spirit man. So when you put to death the spirit man, something else has to replace it. And what they did is they replaced it with this entity or whatever, some sort of low vibrational frequency spirit is what took over. And now I believe it's housed in the spirit man position, which wouldn't be normal in demon possession. But in the case of this, it is. So that's where they lost their inside voice, and that's why they have none of the fruits of the spirit, and they can't do anything good. That's why they cannot create. They're not creative. They're not intuitive. They're not on a righteous level. They can't give anything. They can't give you reciprocity. They can't give you love because they just don't have it. It's not that they don't want to or they refuse to. At this point, they don't have it, and they can't get it for the rest of their life. It's sad, but if you really want to understand the narcissist, you really first have to understand the ideology and what they truly look like, feel like, and what tools they have to work with. If you don't have the tools, they can't ever get them. Well, that should help you understand. If you expect a narcissist to change, then you're going against everything, because they are fixed. They're fixed in a low vibrational state, which is their ego, which is their lower self, which is just their mind, will, and emotions. And then they have negative energy that took over their higher man position, their spirit man position. And they brought it down lower, because anytime you house something like that, it's going to bring your vibration down. And that's why they are forced to run around to get supply. Supply really is to say that you're great, you're grand, and you're operating the way it validates you that you're doing it properly, if you get the response that you think you should. They are very predatory because they're just in their lower self, and in your lower self, you only think of fleshly things. That's why they can't even think of spiritual stuff when you ask them. It's like they can't go there. And they can't go there because you need your spirit man to think spiritual, higher spiritual. So they're stuck in a low vibration, a low frequency. And what they do is they like to project it onto you. So it brings your energy level down. It empowers them. That fuel empowers them so they can now control you. And they can use you as a huge source of supply, a generator. And if they can get you nailed down, get you caught up in finances and children, and get you hooked in love and trusting them, and get you through a couple of cycles of the love bomb, devalue, discard with the trauma bond. That's what they try to do. So they can get you hooked and get you married real fast so that they will not let go of you. They can keep you. And when you think from your lower self, you're going to be seductive, suggestive, hostile, aggressive, deceptive, mischievous, and perverse. You're going to be very destructive. They put this thing to death and they bound it up, and they didn't listen to it, this true self. And at this point, it was put to death, or it's bound up inside them, never to return. It causes them to operate on a low frequency. They may or may not be aware of how they were feeling. And they could be just operating like an NPC or in autopilot. And a lot of times that's what you'll see. You'll get glimpses of that. And anybody that's been traumatized needs to really pay attention to mindfulness, because these are things that can occur with people that have been traumatized. You can get in modes and just kind of be going through the motions, and going through the motions isn't really good. You should be focusing. Focusing helps you to make righteous, good decisions. And it helps you to be in the moment and be aware instead of being in an autopilot yourself. They have no higher consciousness. They don't care about anyone else. That would be the case if you're in your flesh and you don't have any authority coming from your spirit man to keep you in control. You're going to be like a toddler with tantrums. You're not going to care about anybody else. You are going to be everything that evil would be. Pompous, grandiose. Everybody's lower class than me. The energy the narcissist embodies is a lower energy, frequency, or vibration. Their energy, it's just a lower level. It cannot get to the level of anything that's ethical or moral. Anything that would get them to decide to go halfway on a relationship as far as fuel, energy, reciprocity. They're very negligent in relationships. They never have healthy relationships, and they don't even focus on it. They don't think clear. Their clarity is distorted. It's drowned. It's resistant to good things and to things that are right. They disconnect from their higher true self. So they cannot empathize. They cannot sympathize. They cannot nourish or love in relationships with ourself. They can't do it with their self, love their self or others. And here you are, you find yourself stuck in a relationship with them. And I understand, I've been in a few myself. But for all those that are dealing with this trauma bond, you've got to journal these things down. Whenever you want to go to back to the narcissist, what did they do good for you? You may not find not one thing, because that's how evil they are and destructive. How did they treat you? You may not find one good thing. And what do you know about them? You're going to find that you know very little. And I was the same. But they draw you in slowly, and it's very, very manipulative. And they have a certain kinds of allure and seduction, and it's very persuasive when you've been groomed this way as a child. So it's nothing to feel negative about, but you want to be aware and mindful so that we can combat this stuff. So the more that you operate in your higher self, the more authenticity you're going to find, the more authentic you will be. And the more you use your lower self, the more inauthentic you're going to be. And that is what the world is built on. They're built in on ego, and ego is, I call it, to try to impress, because it's not what you are, but you're looking for validation and trying to impress others. So you will fake it, and hopefully you get the validation that you want, that you expect to get, that you faked it correctly, that you were a good actor. A lot of times in the world, they have things, kind of labeled, you want to be, there's certain cookie cutter things, and it's all inauthentic. So that's why they call it the false self, because there is no truth to them. That's the other thing. They can't tell you the truth. People will say they don't want to, or they refuse to, or they resist it. No, they can't. They cannot tell you the truth. They must tell you lies. And they must do the opposite of you, pretty much. That's pretty much what this type of unequal yoking is. And you'll find that. When you don't want them, they want you. When you do want them, they don't want you. They never will give you the right reciprocity, but then when you don't want them, then they're willing to do a whole bunch and give you tons. I mean, it's all very unhealthy, and it's all deceptive. They don't want to tell you any good ideas. They actually probably don't even have any good ideas, because they're schemers, and that's all they can do. The narcissist embodies their lower self only. They're cut off from their higher self, the frequency, vibration, and dimension. They disconnected from their higher self. So that's kind of what you're dealing with. They have to fake their higher self, and that's what they do. That's what, to some degree, they need energy for, because they do not have a higher self anymore, and they run at the low vibration, very low vibration, at the very bottom of the barrel. And it's one thing to think a certain way, but then when you're housing negative energy, you're really down. You really need a lot of energy. So what happens, they end up destroying people and learning to be manipulative. And there's all these different masks that they retrofit for you, and it's been adjusted for everybody. And then if you leave them and they hoover you back, they're going to hoover you back they'll make an adjustment to it again. They'll tighten a screw here and loosen it up here. And then that's why they come back, and they got to tell you something different from the masks that they originally showed you. So they got to tweak it, tighten it up, or loosen it up a little. So they'll tell you that they got some help or whatever, or decided to change. They'll give you a fake apology, but they can't even give you a true apology, because that comes from your higher self. You see, this is how it all works. And no goodness. So you just don't want to be with them. And what you want to do is break that cycle of energy in your life, because even though they leave you, you know how you're ruminating on them. This is all a process. Some of it you can't just speed up, and sometimes that's not a good idea either. But you want to take your time with it. The rumination is going to come off if you stay away from them and stay away from toxic people and have mindfulness. But when you continue to engage with them, it just resets, the clock again on that stuff. And it's painful stuff. It's very distracting too. You're clouded up and you can't do anything. So you really want to stay away from them, even if you are addicted. But once you get away from them, there's a lot of people that can stay in this sunken place for decades after. So you have to find a way to release that energy by meditating, prayer, Epsom salt baths, and things like meditation. Things to switch your energy, to find new passions. New passions help you to switch your energy. So sometimes, a lot of times we feel too lazy to go out of our norm and do something new. It feels like a lot of work. But when you're in a situation like this, it's probably a good idea to try some new things, because if you can find a new passion by trying different things in life, it will be very helpful in you switching off this narcissistic energy and releasing it. But you want to make sure that you're healed up, meaning don't carry this burden around either, because that energy that the narcissist embodies is what they leave you with too, at least some of it. That energy is from them, so it's very much the same frequency as them. That's why when you get away from the narcissist, if you don't heal, you're going to be still carrying around the frequency of, to some degree, the last love partner you had that was a narcissist. and they're going to pick up on that vibration because you're going to be already low. So you're going to attract those type of low individuals because you want to be on the frequency. For you to meet somebody that's good for you, you need to find the frequency level of what level frequency they're on, because that's how you meet good people. You raise your frequency, your vibration, which is you have a healthy spirit with God, and you release all of this negative energy and become truly authentic like God originally created us to be. But we have so much corruption, we have so many distractions and enticing things and people convincing us to do things when we're children, that we get caught up in bad habits, bad vibrations, bad thinking, and sometimes because we're just used to what we dealt with in childhood, you continue to perpetuate it because that's all you know. But you need to dig deep. If you dig deep with your spirit man, you will find the true answers, the right answers. It's like if you found money on the ground, your spirit man would tell you to turn it in, but your flesh would say keep it. You see, the narcissist doesn't have the inside voice that tells them to turn it in. So this is how they walk around and operate through life. They're in ego all the time. They're always chasing validation because they're addicted to those hits from the endocrine system. They cannot be alone because they need extreme amounts of validation. And when you're lying all the time, that's all you are is a lie. Well, then you're always going to need validation because you're always faking. You see? To be in your lower self all the time, your lower consciousness, is to be in your flesh and to be in your ego. It's all the same. But it's selfish. It's predatory. It's abusive. And it's animalistic by nature. Predatory. And there's nothing good in your lower self, nothing at all. In fact, everything from your lower self is what is corrupting you. That's why in the Word it would speak about your spirit man. And that's what the Holy Ghost empowers when you get saved. Your spirit man, your higher self. They don't have the higher self, they disconnected and put it to death, but it's obvious. It's not like people are making this up or I'm making this up. When you can't do anything good, when you cannot feel any of the 9 fruits of the Spirit because they all are connected to your true self. When, like Sam Bankman said, you put to death your true self. You have no intuition, no inside voice. You cannot create, you can just destroy. You cannot tell the truth, you have to lie. You all know this. Everything they do is evil. But they're terrible too. Regardless of where they are on the spectrum, they're all disconnected from their true self. And that is the major point to get across here. Cannot be helped and are fixed and don't have any of the fruits of the Spirit. And if you do think they do, it's because they're faking it. But what they do is they get other people's energy, other people's fuel, and that's what they have to wear to make it look like while they're acting out these fake fruits of the Spirit. That's why energy is so important as well. Because they cannot produce good energy. So they have to steal good energy. They produce all bad energy and plenty of it. But they need good energy to get supply, to get people. They need good energy to do things, to do what they want to do, their agenda. And their agenda is to destroy. So if you want to destroy, you have to camouflage yourself to look like you're a good person. You need to devise evil deeds and suck people in using fake fruits of the Spirit and then destroy them and walk away. Blame it on them as you are the victim. Because as much as they destroy, they have to do it on a covert level. Or else nobody would talk to them as well. And the entities inside them don't want them to know. So they're kind of running on autopilot, but they're completely controlled. They don't process things. When you don't awareness and mindfulness is to process your emotional thoughts. How do you feel? Why do you feel that way? Is it right? Is it wrong? What is your inner voice saying? What is your spirit man saying? And are you listening to it and obeying your inner voice, your inner spirit, your inner higher self. Remember they said the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. That's what people say in church sometimes, or I think that's even in the word somewhere, but it's what it's saying. The spirit man is strong, but the flesh is weak, and the flesh will convince you if your spirit man is not worded up to go do these things. And you'd be like, yeah, okay. And then pay for the consequences later. Y'all tell me if this is not the narcissist. I'm reading from Proverbs 6:16. These 6 things doth the Lord hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, imaginations, feet that are swift in running to mischief. What does that sound like to you? A false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord amongst brethren. This looks like the absolute character of the narcissist. So if you can give me a like, subscription, and thumbs up, love you all till next time. Soldier up, peace be out.